So what I'm going to start with today is actually the verse that the book of the Tanya is based upon. There's a verse that says, Ki karov elecha davar me'od beficha u'levavcha la'aseh. It's very close and near to you to do, in your mouth and in your heart to do. And it's a verse where Moshe speaks to the nation, and he says, this thing is not in the heavens, it's not beyond the seas. And actually the verse says that if it would be in the heavens, we would climb ladders to do whatever God's command was. And if it would be across seas, we would build boats and we would sail across seas to fulfill God's will and connect to him. But it's not. It's actually very close for us to attain. And there's an argument about what it is. In other words, what is this thing that we're trying to attain that's so easy? Some people want to say that any command, if God commanded it, it's easy, so therefore we can do it. Other people want to say it's the idea of connecting, the idea of what a command is, which is a connection to God, having a relationship with God. And there's others that say the idea is teshuvah. Teshuvah is repentance. Teshuvah also means, the word shuv means to return. So what is repentance? It's returning to God, reconnecting to God. And he said that, in essence, when you think about it, it's something that if it was hard to do, we would have to do it, but it's not hard. It's something that we can do. It's found within us. We don't travel somewhere to do it. We just deal with ourselves. The only thing blocking us from God is ourselves. Not the skies, not the seas. It's just ourselves. And therefore it's found within ourselves and within our heart that we have to accomplish this, or break this barrier to connect. What he says is that this entire book will explain this verse, this idea. And the way this book will explain this idea, he says, and he brings down a quote, because it's going to explain it in a long but short way. The question is, what does that mean? Like, if you're going to explain it, just explain it. And this is what I want to talk about today for a while. There's a Talmud, and in the Talmud there's many sections, and one of them is Eruvin. And in Eruvin, it's brought down, Eruvin. It's one of the sections. It talks about how to build an Eruv so you can carry on Shabbos, but amongst it gets off topic, and it brings down a story. Jews do that, Jews talk about things and all of a sudden, let's share a story. And they just do that. And this one is about Rabbi Yeshua ben Hanania. This is who he's talking about. And Rabbi Yeshua ben Hanania was traveling to a city, which commentaries tell us is the city of Jerusalem. And he got to a fork in the road. And at the fork in the road, there was a boy sitting. And he asked the boy, which way to the city? And the boy answered, this way is short but long, and this way is long but short. And of course, that didn't help him too much, because he still had two paths in front of him. And he decided that the one that was short was probably shorter, even though it had long at the end, as opposed to the long one sounded longer. So he took the short path. And he was traveling along, and very quickly he came to the city. He rounded a bend and he saw the city. But there were vineyards and orchards that were completely obstructing his path, and he couldn't enter the city. So he retraced his path back to the boy, and he said, I thought you said this was the short path. The boy answered, I thought I told you that it's also long. And he stopped, and he kissed the boy on the forehead, and he said, such a person is truthfully a deep person, and hopefully he'll lead Israel. On a deeper scheme of things, what happened, when you think about it, is that first of all, the Talmud's relating a story. It's not just relating a story. Hey, guess what happened to me today? I was walking down the street and I saw this car and it was like wrapped in this really cool wrap and it had this. It's sharing it for a message. It's sharing it for a purpose. What is the purpose? The purpose is that there's a message that we can relate to our lives. And in this case, the message that he wants to share is that a lot of times we find two paths. And a lot of times one path is short and one path is long. What is the short path? The short path is a quick fix. Short path is something that we say, something's wrong here and there's something that we can do that will quickly fix this. And we try it. Sometimes we say, if we just bought more stuff, then that would solve our lack of feeling, or if we did this or we did that. We try to find a physical solution to a problem that isn't physical. And then what we're doing is we're trying to put Band-Aids on a fever, and it just doesn't work. It doesn't go, because they're two separate things. And what we're doing is trying to put very quickly Band-Aids onto things when there's a very deep virus running. And we quickly fix it, but it doesn't last. We hit the orchards, we hit the vineyards, and we cannot enter the city. In the case of the story, the city was Jerusalem. What is Jerusalem? Jerusalem is the city of God. We're trying to enter a solution that is spiritual by nature, it's godly by nature, through a physical means. So we get close to it, we think we solved it, just to realize that we didn't make any progress at all. We're nowhere near closer to this. We didn't get to the entrance. So we retrace our steps, and we could try a different path. The second path is a long path. There's a longer path, and that is one of self-work, of looking at oneself, looking through who one is, what they're made of, what are their issues, what are the problems, and then realizing that those problems are slow, long work solutions, real work solutions. And they're not going to happen overnight. But we can start down that path. And it's long because it's going to take us a long time to do it, but it's short in that it will actually take us where we're going. It'll take us into the city. It'll take us into the refuge of God, within a relationship of God, within a place of spirituality and godliness. So there are those who want to ask a question. And what is the question they want to ask? They want to say that by the nature of things, we said there's two paths. And here we're defining that there's really only one path. You can either take the path or you cannot. And what was it that the boy told this rabbi is two paths? Like either you could walk to nowhere or you could take the path that'll take you to the city. It wasn't two paths. If you want to say that they were both took us eventually into the city, one is short and then it took us like a roundabout way for 5 million miles and then took us into the city, that's one thing. It didn't do that. It was a dead end. It wasn't a path, it's a dead end. If you Wikipedia, a path is something that takes you somewhere. It didn't take you anywhere. It didn't end you up where you need to go. The other one's a path. And they say that that's an idea that really we should go even a step deeper than that. So we reached one level. One level is that there's two paths. One's short. We try physical means, a spiritual problem, and therefore they don't work. So we try a quick solution to something that isn't the issue, and therefore it doesn't work. And the other way is actually dealing with the issue and working on it until we finally solve the issue. I guess to give a lame example, an off-key example, when someone's in debt, so they owe, let's say, money on their credit card, they can say the quick fix is, I'm not going to look at it anymore. I'm just not going to open up that web page. I won't see the debt there. So they've solved the problem. They don't have to worry about it anymore. It doesn't show up anymore. That doesn't work too long. Because eventually they start getting phone calls. Okay, so the next solution is I won't answer the phone calls. Again, that's only going to work so long. These are quick fixes to a real problem. The real solution may be saying that we're going to slowly do payment plans. I can only pay $10 a month, and this may take me 5 years to pay off. Do you want to work with that? And they may agree. They may not. They may agree. I don't know, whatever the solution is. But that's going to be a slow path. But it's quick in that it'll actually get us somewhere, as opposed to the other way, we're still in square one. And that was the first explanation. On a spiritual plane, to leave the physical plane behind, which is the obvious first core of things, the outer layer of things. On a spiritual plane, there are also two paths. On a spiritual plane, going a deeper level, beyond when we stop with the physical means, there are also two different ideas of spirituality. One is, sometimes we go and we get quickly spiritually inspired. Maybe we hear a lecture from somebody. We go somewhere and we hear an amazing speaker, and they bring out a new point in something that we've always heard. They bring some story that we've heard our whole lives. They twist it in a new way, and all of a sudden we're seeing a new explanation that has bothered us, and we're inspired. Maybe we hear someone tell their story, and it's moving, and we're inspired. Maybe we flip on the radio and we hear a song, and the song catches us. It's something that's inspiring. Or whatever it may be. Maybe we're driving along the road one night, we see sunset through our back window as we're driving down the highway. And it's nice, it's beautiful. The sky changes colors, a little bit painted, etc. And it's inspiring. And all these things are inspiring. The only thing is that they're very short inspirations. When we get very quickly inspired, it also very quickly wears off. Many times we go somewhere, we allow ourselves to get inspired, and then the next day, we look for that inspiration, we cannot tap into it. We can't rejuvenate ourselves from it. Maybe you hear an amazing speech, we get really, really wowed, and the next day, to us, it's just, unfortunately, another part of our lives. It's not something that we could, but yesterday I was feeling it, so today I'm also feeling it. It doesn't carry over as quickly and as well as we'd like it to. So on a spiritual plane, this is also a short path. It's a real path because when we're inspired, it's a real inspiration. It really works. It's not fake. We're not lying to ourselves. We're really having deep, emotional, and even possibly spiritual feelings. But they're not feelings that sustain and stay with us. So it's long in that it doesn't maintain itself. Then there's a long path. What is the long path in spirituality? It's slowly every day doing work. Every day I'm going to meditate for 2 minutes. And then next day I'll try to do 2.5 minutes. And then I'm going to do 3 minutes. And I'm not feeling it. And this is boring. And I'm standing there in front of the mirror and it's not talking back to me and it's not working. And I'm going to try prayer. And this just does not work. I don't connect with this. And we slowly go through very hard self-work. No one ever said doing a fourth step is fun. And it's definitely not feeling spiritual. There's a lot of, very down-to-earth and very opposite spiritual feelings. But by taking that path, it's a long path that will slowly but surely take us deeper and deeper into a spiritual mindset, deeper and deeper into a meditative, and eventually into a calming, soothing place. It puts us into that place slowly but surely. So it's not something that hits us right away. But then when we look back, a few months down the road, we're like, wow, I really am calmer. I really do stop and think, and this is nice. Right. And then a couple years down the road, we say, whoa, is this who I always was, or is this a new me? And we try to figure that out. It's slow growth. It's like a kid that wants to be big one day, so they climb on their chair. They're not big, but they feel like, hey, look at me, I'm tall, and they climb down. They didn't get anywhere. And then the kid who slowly grows, and no one realized, when did you become 5 feet? And then it happens. So now here's the only thing. On the spiritual plane, you have to remember that Rabbi Yarden, who was this rabbi who was quoted in the Talmud. He was a very holy person. It wasn't like every person was quoting the Talmud. This rabbi was a holy person. Rabbi Yeshua ben Hanania was a man of great, he understood a lot. And when he stopped to ask the child how to get to the city, the child asked, seemingly, unless there was a reason for him to travel down both paths, he should have asked him again. Like, okay, so which one would you suggest taking? This is where I want to go. What's the difference between short and long and short, When you order a meal, you don't just sit there and say, well, this is the dish of the day, and this is the dish of the week. Oh, I'll take both to find out what they are. You sit there and you say, well, what's the dish of the day, and what's the dish of the... Oh, it's a dish with mushrooms. I don't like mushrooms. Okay, I'm going to find my own dish of the day. Or do you just sit there and order until, no, that wasn't good, next dish? And the question is, why did he go down both paths? Did he not understand that, obviously one of them wasn't going to work? And in truth, there is an advantage to short spiritual inspirations. What is the advantage is that when we're taking a long, hard path and we're not getting any kickback, any gain, it's very hard to keep ourselves motivated to do it. It's very hard to stay focused to do the next day's work. I'm just doing it. I have to do it. How long can we just have to do things? We also need to feel spiritual feelings and emotional, kickbacks along the way. So the goal here is to ride both paths on a spiritual frame, not a physical frame. But on a spiritual frame, it's to traverse both paths. It's that while I'm doing the hard work and while I'm working through the steps and taking the steps I need to be taking, I'm also getting inspired. Maybe I'm going to an open talk, or maybe I'm going to some new meditative presentation or spiritual idea or speaker that inspires me, or maybe I'm listening to some music that I like. And this is helping me rejuvenate myself just for today to continue on my long path. And then, even though it may wear off, it's accomplished its goal. It's helped us take the next step on our long path. So even though it ends right there, and it doesn't solve us and take us into the city, it's also taken us one step closer to the city as we traverse the long path. And one may ask, how long is a long path? And some people want to say that it's as long as life itself. But the entire life we're getting closer and closer to the city as long as we're traveling along the path. And then that is the journey of life. That is the path of life. So the Alter Rebbe opens up his Tanya and he says, I'm going to talk about this idea of teshuvah. He says, based on this verse, something that's very close to you. And I'm going to talk about it from an angle where I'm not going to explain how you're going to get to return to God by traveling the skies or traveling the seas or going on some physical journey. I'm going to talk about it from within yourself, from breaking down your own being to find God. And I'm going to do this in the long but short way. I'm not going to take the short but long way. I'm not going to explain to you short ideas. I'm not going to explain to you one-line inspirations. This is going to be a long, hard journey that I'm going to take you down. And you should find your own short inspirations. You should find your own ideas that go along with it. I'm just going to explain to you the long, hard path. And that's what he outlines with this Tanya, this opening statement that he says the entire book is based upon. And I think we're going to stop and do some questions.